we will be going over the myths and realities which people are unsure as to whether these myths or realities are true or not. So we're going to bust these myths so that people know for sure what is really going on. So first up, I will do an acknowledgement of country. I hope you can all hear me okay. I'm at home again. Just let me know if you're not hearing me okay. So 30-foot drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures and beliefs, to both the elders past and present. Now we will go over the 30-foot drop funding. 30-foot drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their help, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys wouldn't see the light of day, and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community. So we're really grateful for their funding. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-foot drop as part of an Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 2019. Let's now go over some housekeeping on how the webinars are run. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor all of our platforms. So if you do have any questions for me and you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you won't be able to send me a direct live message. But if you look below this video, there's a link there, www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Hit that and you can then have a chat with me and just go into the live box and chat. So no questions are off limits. You can ask anything you like along the way. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we ask attendees to try and minimize any distractions that you might have. And also please make sure that 30-foot drop is tagged in anything that you share about us. We'd love to get involved, and the more we can get our message out there, the better we are going to be able to change things within the community. As well, if you know anyone that may be interested in these webinars, please share our information with them. You can sign up and register so that you get reminders about when they're going to be playing. And you can also re-watch them if you don't get to come and join me live. We also record every session, so if you wanted to go back on anything we talk about tonight, you can go back once we have hit the end button. And all the research we talk about in all of our webinars, it's all available on our website. So if you wanted to look further into anything that we've spoken about, you can jump onto our website and go into the resource library. At the end of the webinar, we do have a short survey, which we would be really grateful if you guys could fill out. So that's through our website, the link below. Before you leave, just jump on the link below, fill out tapping in part 1 survey, and then you'll be done. Right, so that is all the housekeeping for tonight. Next, I will do an introduction. I'm Lisa and I am Hear No Evil. I'm one of the 2 wise monkeys that run these workshops. The other guy is Ben, and he is the director of the 2 Wise Monkeys workshops and the director of the website 30-foot drop. His impairment, his disability landed him in a wheelchair at the age of 22, and because he was an able-bodied before this time, he got to see the differences of what it's like for someone with a disability, and he knew obviously what it was like before, and he realized that people just don't know. It's not entirely their fault that they don't understand it. It's because no one is out there teaching it, and that is why we are here today. Now, my impairment is more hidden than Ben's. 30-something years ago, I was born 10 weeks premature. So born at 30 weeks, weighing a little 2.5 pounds. You know, everything was fine. I got through everything, but sometimes with premature births, you can have other complications in life. So when I was 8, I was diagnosed diagnosed with mild dyslexia, which can be quite a common thing to happen if you're born premature. So at the age of 8, I was diagnosed with dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks, and yell at me in front of my classmates. Why don't you understand what's wrong with you? Making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. But, you know, despite these challenges growing up, I was determined to prove these teachers wrong. And I ended up achieving an arts degree where I have travelled all around the world with, and I have a diploma in counselling, and sorry, something just happened then. I have a diploma in counselling where this part of the Two Wise Monkeys comes into it. I love to help people, and if I can help people by doing these webinars and get some changes made for people to make a happier life for them, then I'll be happy. So with my creative side and my dyslexia, this took me all around the world. I manage art galleries. I have a museum grade certificate in looking after fine art, done picture framing, marketing for exhibitions, all sorts of things. So, you know, if you have a learning disability or you know someone that does, there will be something that you are good at, and there will be something that you could be good at and better than others. It doesn't matter that you're not an amazing mathematician or speller. There are other things in life that you'll be good at, and you just need to follow those passions and those dreams of yours. So, when we look at the monkeys, there's often 3 wise monkeys. So I ask you now, who do you think the 3rd monkey is? Who is Speak No Evil? Speak No Evil is behind me. Who is Speak No Evil? It is you. So the aim of tonight's workshop is to turn you into that 3rd wise monkey. And if you really wanted to turn into that monkey, those t-shirts behind me are available for sale on our website in black and white from size 5 kid size to 5XL adult size, and they range from $15 to $25. So get yourself one if you'd like. And now, so how are we going to turn you into that wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment. And you will begin on a journey of realizing, impairment or not, we're all human and deserve to be treated with and acknowledged in the same way as anyone else. So, let's get started. Outline and method. We will just go over an outline of the workshop tonight. So how are we going to get you started? First up, we will examine and bust some of the common myths and realities around employing someone with an impairment. Around our little myth buster session, we will get down to the brass tacks and look at these subsidies available when employing someone with a disability or impairment. The final subject will be workplace modifications and how to access funding for these. To finish off, we do an open forum session where people can ask questions along the way, but please feel free if you like to ask any. You don't have to wait till the end. You can ask any along the way, but then at the end we do have an open forum session where I turn the video off and I let people write in and we can talk about their questions. So, how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, open, honest discussion. If we can't be open and honest about these subjects, then changes aren't going to be made. If you've got something that you need to talk about that needs to be changed, let people know. If someone's business or service isn't accessible or you don't feel inclusive, let them know. In a nice way, of course, but people just need to be aware, and that is why we're here. So you'll notice as well so far that there is very little written content on the slides. That's because we are all here to easily interact with the screen and each other. And it also makes it easy for people that may have a disability or impairment to follow along. You're not having to read heaps of complicated information, try and keep up with the slides, and also here at 30 Foot Drop and Two Wise Monkeys, we don't believe in death by PowerPoint. Couldn't think of anything worse. So, that is why it is like it is. Next up, I'm going to go over some terminology, and that is the difference between disability and impairment and access and inclusion. First up, we will talk about impairment. Impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological and psychological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access something. So if you have a cafe, for instance, and you've only got stairs or a little like a high lip to get in the door, then someone with a mobility issue or someone in a wheelchair isn't going to be able to access your business or service. So these are little things that you need to think about. Okay, so an example for someone with a learning disability such as dyslexia. Too much wording and complex information can sometimes make it hard for people with dyslexia to understand, which then makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your business or service. This is especially important because some people's impairments are hidden, and people with hidden impairments are potentially not giving you business. So you're missing out because your information could be too hard or too complicated for them. So please be aware of this. Sorry about that. My husband is out there, but not doing anything. Okay. So it's important to remember that some people's impairments are hidden and that you could potentially be missing out on their business because you didn't realise that, you know, some of the information on your website might be too complicated, or your marketing strategies. So something to look at for everyone. Now let's have a look at the difference between access and inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in the activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be easily assessed with a checklist. So this checklist, you can go around your business and check, is your door frame wide enough? Are the door handles reachable for someone in a wheelchair? If they're too high, someone in a wheelchair can't reach. But we do have an accessible checklist which you can have a look at and go around your business and check it off. So that's on our website if you wanted to have a look at that. Now, the last one, inclusion. Inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is the process whereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else. So that's making sure that everyone, no matter how they look, how they appear, their religion, their sexual preference, every single human being is included within your business. Don't make people feel uncomfortable because they won't be returning. And in our next few webinars, we discuss that people with impairment or disability are very likely to dissuade others from coming to your business if you don't make them feel included or welcome. Okay, let's now head into, if you have any questions, please send them in. I will just check now if we have any questions. No questions. Let's now head into the myths and realities. Let's have a look at the myths and realities that exist when employing someone with impairment. These myths aren't just random statements that we've plucked out of thin air. They are 7 reoccurring reasons why people with disability or impairment are not being employed from studies all over the world. So, there's a lot of myths to be busted here. Here is myth 1. People with impairments need expensive modifications in order to be productive employees. Not true, not everyone needs this. Impairments are like people. Every single one is unique and not everyone with an impairment needs special modifications. Our advice is to ask the potential employee and find out what it is they do and don't need. So very important to approach the person before just assuming that they may need this and that done. And if you do have any modifications that you need help with, Job Access is the place to go, which we will go over a bit more about Job Access later on. Ben readily admits that yes, adaptations for impairments and disabilities can be expensive. Wheelchairs can cost $20,000 upwards, cars can cost $50,000 upwards. But the thing is, most of the time someone with a disability or impairment already has these things. So, because they use them in day-to-day use. If an employee with an impairment does need a modification, then they are often easy to work with and inexpensive. And there is also a good chance that they have come up against this hurdle before and will know how best to fix it. But then, as I said before, if you do need these modifications done, Job Access is the place to go, and we will cover that very soon. Next, myth 2. People with impairment are frequently absent from work. Yes or no? The opposite is true. False. Oh, sorry, getting very confused there. I can hear my family in the background. People with impairment are frequently absent from work. The opposite is true. According to the Disability Investment Group, The Way Forward, a new disability policy framework for Australia in 2009 stated that 86% of employees with an impairment have the same or superior attendance rate as other workers. Studies show that they also have a reduced turnover rate, which means onboarding costs for you, which means less onboarding costs for you and your business, meaning you'll actually be saving money, which is awesome for business owners. Why is this the case? Well, the studies show that people who have a disability or impairment have an unemployment rate which is double the rest of society. Double. Now that is scary. So for people with a disability or impairment, it takes them twice as long to land them a job. One of Ben's friends actually applied for a job 183 times before landing herself a job. That would have taken years, 183 times. That is patience and dedication and loyalty. And I'm sure now that she landed that job, she won't be going anywhere. So due to this difficulty in being unemployed, people that do get employed view the job as a job success and privilege, not the right, and will go the extra mile to keep it. Fair enough too, my goodness. 183 times, that is just incredible. Okay, myth 3. People with impairment are only suited to unskilled work. Once again, yes or no, true or false. The opposite is true. Massively untrue. There is a range of skills, talents and abilities. The Australian Bureau of Statistics reported that in 2000 people with impairments who were employed worked as professionals, as clerical or administrative workers. Tradies. .7. Oh, sorry. are out there working. So please think about. Will go up. True or false? Not true. Employing someone with an impairment does not affect your premium. Insurance underwriters look at incidents history of the business and the work of the business. Look at incidents history in the workplace and workers' compensation, not the number of people employed with an impairment. Further to that, studies have up to 6 times less likely to have a WHS claim and are less likely to lodge a workers' compensation claim, which will lower your business's insurances. Now that's something good to know, because I'm sure people are very, very unsure of that question. So it is thought that the reason for this can be attributed to the difficulty many people have with an impairment or disability find getting a job. If you find it hard to find employment, then you're not going to risk that employment by breaking rules or cutting corners. You're going to do the right thing. Now, I had a guy, Graham, in the UK where I was working in the gallery and framing department, and he worked in the framing part with me, and he did all the bespoke framing. So he made the 10, the standard sizes. He was older. He was probably maybe 70 something, and he was so loyal. I don't even know. I don't honestly think he had a sick day in the 2 years that I was there. He got everything perfect every day. Look at his watch. He would not go a minute over his smoko time. He would be at work early, and he would also leave work right on time. But he was gorgeous. And he was so grateful for the job, and it was very sad to say goodbye to him. He was an amazing, amazing person, and it was so nice to see a business that really cared. We bought him birthday presents, we made him feel loved and happy, and him coming to work was his life. It was the best part of his life. Otherwise, what else would he have been doing? He had some kind of must have been from birth, some kind of disability there. But yeah, it was just amazing to see that some businesses out there had gone and done the right thing. Okay, so let's head on now to myth 5. People with impairments are less productive employees. Not true. Studies have shown that when matched with a job that is within their ability, people with impairment are just as productive as any other employees. Coupled with reduced absenteeism, reduced WHS and workers' compensation claims, and increased retention makes sense. And people whose productivity is significantly lowered as a result of their impairment may like to consider the supported wage system. With the supported wage system, eligible people with an impairment can access a reliable process of productivity-based wage assessment to determine fair pay for fair work, which we will go over a bit more later on in the session. Now, myth 6. Workers with an impairment will not fit into the workplace. This could be another reason why employees are scared to take the chance, but good news. Not true. In most cases, co-worker acceptance comes with awareness and observing that the workers are competent and efficient in their jobs, regardless of their impairment. People with impairment make up to 20% of the Australian population, and the likelihood of clients or co-workers having a relative or friend with a disability or impairment is high. So, if you got asking your employees if they did know someone with an impairment or disability, and how did they deal with it, how do they cope with it, and would they mind if someone like that came and worked into the business, and would they support that? Studies show that employer initiatives in hiring people with impairment can have positive bottom line results for your whole team, increasing staff morale and community recognition. As good corporate citizens, in conclusion, your workers are just like anyone else and just want to be given that chance. And why shouldn't they be given that chance? Now, myth 7, if they don't work out, I cannot discipline or fire them. This is another one where a lot of people are unsure. This is not true. Employing a person with an impairment is the same as any other worker, which is good to know. You must establish clear performance expectations from the start, and if they are unable or unwilling to do their job, then you can take further action as normal. There are no special laws that prevent you from disciplining or terminating an employee who is unable or unwilling to do their job. So, these are the 7 myths. I hope that they made sense to you, and some of them you were surprised by. So with those, there's no reason that employing someone with a disability or impairment should be stopping you from doing it. There's so many positives in doing this. Now, let's go over the subsidies which are available. This is only some of the subsidies available. Okay. Hours. These are designed. They're designed to offset training and other costs during the initial period of employment. This is an amazing incentive to employers. These subsidies can be released in a flexible payment or lump sum, contingent on the award rates being paid, the minimum hours being worked, the employee being registered with a disability employment service, which we call a DES provider for short, which we will go into more detail tomorrow in webinar part 2. So join me for that, where we'll be going over disability and employment services. But now we will go to the subsidies and what are available to you as an employer. These are basic outlines, so please remember that other criteria may apply. Okay, the first one is wage subsidy. This is $1,500, and the requirements are that the employee is registered with the DES Disability Employment Service Provider, and the candidate will need to average a minimum of 8 hours a week over 13 weeks, with the intention of then going on to working 26 weeks. And the payment is still made if the job ends at 13 weeks, which is an amazing incentive. Right, next is wage start. This amount is $6,000, and the requirements are that the employee once again is registered with a DES provider, 50, and has been actively looking for a job for over a year, and will need to receive an average of 15 hours per week over a 26-week period. And as well with the hours, as long as they are, so you've got 15 hours per week, as long as at the end of that 6 months period they have averaged out to do 15 hours per week. So 1 week they could do no hours, the next week they could do 30 hours, 1 week they could do 10 hours, the next week they could do, what's that? So I don't know. Anyway, so you could mix it up and just accommodate both sides' needs. So this next one is the big one. This is the restart subsidy. Now this is $10,000, and you need to be once again registered with a DES provider. The employee is over 50 years old, and once again been unemployed for 52 weeks or longer, and have been They will need to receive, 20 hours per week in your within your business, and as well working for 26 weeks average. Sorry, I just got that completely mixed up. They need to receive an average of 20 hours per week at your business over a 26-week period. Sorry. So with those hours, once again, they can be mixed up. So 20 hours one week, none the next, 15 the next week, 25 the next week. You can jumble it up, mix it up. Right, so that is the restart subsidy. And the next one is the supported wage subsidy, which is the fair pay for fair work one that we needed to discuss. This particular subsidy is more complicated, but in short revolves around the concept of fair pay for fair work, which is awesome. This allows candidates who cannot perform all the job requirements to receive a productivity-based wage, and so this doesn't disadvantage the employer financially. An assessment determines the gap between the two, and so the assessment determines the gap between the actual and required standard performance due to the worker's health condition or disability, and the percentage of the hourly rate is then paid. For example, if it's determined that someone within your workplace who is on the wage support system is working at 70% then of their job requirement, then the relevant award rate is applicable at 70% per hour. So that's really good to know for employees that are worried that, hey, I've got this job for them, but they're not working 100%. But you still have to pay them 100%. So it's a good thing to know that that is available if they do only work 50% some of the time, then they get paid 50%. So it's a good thing to look at anyway. Okay, now how can employees access these subsidies? Get in touch with your local disability employment service. We'll be covering the disability employment service providers and their roles in the next webinar, which are very, very interesting. So if you're keen to get someone into your business, then please join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. or 6 p.m. Right, now let's talk about what Job Access is. Who helps with the workplace modifications? Job Access is the national hub for workplace and employment information for people with a disability, employments and service providers in Australia. It's funded by the Employment Assistant Fund, which is a government service. They offer financial assistance for workplace modifications that assist people with a disability to then gain meaningful employment. What an awesome place. Now we will go over some of the workplace modifications that are available to your business and things that you could get help with within your business through Job Access. Okay, so you can get modifications for your workplace, which are the cost of making adjustments to the physical workplace. They could also be used for modifications to the workplace, vehicles, specialist equipment, and such like. You could use them for information and communication devices for you and your staff. You could use them for getting an Auslan interpreter in to help if you've got someone with hearing impairment, to help with that, and also to help the staff understand. You could have them be involved in specialist services for employees with specific learning disorders or mental health conditions. You could use Job Access for the whole team to then have an awareness training workshop around disability and impairment, or you could run a mental health workshop for people to also be aware that mental health is also something that needs to be talked about and people need to be made aware. So these are all really, really good things where Job Access can come in and help with these things, modifications, training. So we will now go over the application process. Right, okay. Most disability employment services will facilitate and arrange any assessments that are required. They know what they are doing and they are really brilliant at their job. But you can also do it yourself. So it's up to you. So you submit your application. Then Job Access assesses your application. If your application is successful, then Job Access advises if a workplace assessment is required. If you're asking for something big, then they will come and assess this modification. If no assessment is required, then the workplace purchases the goods and services and then gets reimbursed by Job Access. So this is on little things that you may need to adjust for your employee. You as the business will have to put the money towards that, and then Job Access will fund it. And from what I know, it's very fast. If required, Job Access will then arrange a specialist to confirm the workplace modification validity. I had trouble with that this morning. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word today. It's part of my dyslexia. Tomorrow I'll be able to say it right. And use them for other questions that they might have. So the specialist person will come in and check everything around the business. You've got specific things that you want them to look at, and if you find other little bits and pieces, get them to look at that too, because that's what he's there for. Okay, so the workplace purchases and goods. The workplace purchases once again goods and services, and then is reimbursed by Job Access. Let's go over the funding caps now. What types of money are we looking at for these modifications? Now, these are only some of the modification examples of what is available. There are many, many more. Just Job Access to find out more. But let's go over some of them here. So, physical workplace adjustments and building modifications are capped at $30,000. A lot of money. Auslan Level 1 interpreting is for work-related activities for employees who are deaf or have a hearing impairment, including remote interpreting and real-time captioning. It is capped at $6,000 for every 12 months, which is awesome. Auslan Level 2 interpreting is for job interviews and related activities such as site visits, completion of tests and information sessions for people who are deaf or have a hearing impairment. This funding is uncapped. Auslan Level 3 interpreting is to help co-workers receive the training, so they receive a certificate in Level 2 Auslan to communicate with the employee who has a hearing impairment and uses Auslan as their main method of communication. This is capped at $855. Disability awareness training. If you employ a person with a disability, you can apply for funding for this training, and this is capped at $1,500 per employee with a disability or impairment. So if you have someone with a disability or impairment, every year you can run a disability awareness training workshop for your whole crew and employees, which is awesome. It's all paid for, and that is something that we do here at the Two Wise Monkeys. We run disability workshops for businesses around Western Australia. So I hope that all makes sense tonight. That went really fast. I hope that you enjoyed it and it made sense. There's a lot of information to take in, and there's a lot more available. But if you have any questions or queries, I'm now going to ask you to write those into me now. For those of you that have to go, that is fine, but please, before you go, follow this link below and fill out the Tapping In Part 1 survey. But as well, please join me tomorrow for the Disability Employment Services one. It is really interesting if you want to be able to get in and get someone in your business working with a disability or impairment. Please think about it. It would be an amazing thing to do, an amazing thing for your employees and the community. Okay, so right now I am going to press the open forum time where people can send in questions, and then that is it for the night. Thank you for joining me, everyone that has to go. I will see everyone else very, very soon. Okay, welcome back. There are no questions tonight, but that is totally fine. I hope you all enjoyed tonight and going over the myths and realities of employing people with disability and impairments. And I hope that this workshop has inspired you to look further into wanting to do that. And if you are wanting to do it, please join me tomorrow and we will be going through lots of stuff over